How can we save the world? Everyone across the world is now experiencing the effects of climate change. Negative impacts such as extreme high temperatures, droughts, heavy precipitation, stronger storms, and rising sea levels are becoming more severe. Climate change is mainly caused by anthropogenic greenhouse gas emissions. If the GHG emissions continue at this high rate, it is estimated that global surface temperature could rise as high as 4.4 degrees Celsius by 2100. Unless the appropriate and adequate measures are taken, there will be higher risks of devastating impacts on the world's economy and society caused by increased extreme weather events. Climate change is a threat that affects the stability, prosperity, and human security of every region and country in the world. Approximately 3.5 billion people are currently vulnerable to climate change, and most of them are living in developing countries. As a member of the international community, JICA aims to address this issue together through the cooperation with our partner countries. Climate change measures consist of two main approaches: mitigation and adaptation. Mitigation refers to efforts to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and enhance carbon sinks. Some of the examples of mitigation are introduction of renewable energy technologies, updating equipment and facilities for energy efficiency, and introduction of public transportation systems that lead to alleviation of traffic and modal shift toward more sustainable transportation, and measures to combat deforestation and forest degradation for reducing greenhouse gas emissions. Adaptation refers to efforts to adapt to the negative impacts caused by climate change that is already happening and may happen in the future. Some of the examples of adaptation are reduction of climate-related disaster risk, introduction of agricultural technologies suited to rising temperatures and changing precipitation patterns, improvement of water resource management systems, and development of new water resources to ensure water security. In 2015, international framework related to climate change was established, including Sustainable Development Goals, the Sendai Framework for Disaster Risk Reduction 2015 to 2030, and the Paris Agreement. SDGs Goal 13 aims to combat climate change and its impact by taking urgent action. The Sendai Framework for Disaster Risk Reduction is an international guideline for disaster risk reduction through 2030. The concept of investing in disaster risk reduction to minimize damage from disasters presented in the guidelines will strengthen resilience to disasters, including those caused by climate change. The Paris Agreement is a legally binding international treaty on climate change, defining how parties will implement their commitments after 2020. For the first time in history, all parties have agreed to take action to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. The Paris Agreement aims to hold the increase in the global average temperature to well below 2 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels, and pursue efforts to limit the temperature increase to 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels. To achieve this goal, efforts must be made to reduce anthropogenic greenhouse gas emissions to reach net zero. As for adaptation, global goal on adaptation was stipulated in the agreement, aimed at enhancing adaptive capacity, strengthening resilience, and reducing vulnerability to climate change. COP28 adopted the UAE Framework for Global Climate Resilience, establishing 7 thematic four-dimensional targets to operationalize the global goal on adaptation. At COP29 in 2024, it was decided to triple finance to developing countries, targeting $300 billion annually by 2035. In addition, full operationalization of the market mechanism under the Article 6 was also decided. Discussion on indicators for the global goal on adaptation have progressed. To achieve the goals of the Paris Agreement, the government of Japan has set a long-term goal of reducing overall greenhouse gas emissions to net zero by 2050. In February 2025, the government of Japan has set and submitted the revised Nationally Determined Contributions, NDCs, to the Secretariat of the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. It is described that Japan aims to reduce its GHG emissions by 60% in fiscal year 2035 and by 73% in fiscal year 2040 from its fiscal year 2013 level. As for adaptation, Japan enacted the Climate Change Adaptation Act in 2018. Drawing on the knowledge and technologies developed through experiences with major disasters, Japan is committed to sharing these insights with the world. Under these circumstances, JICA announced its sustainability policy in 2023. JICA aims to realize a sustainable world in which the three dimensions, economy, society, and environment, are in harmony and no burden is left for future generations. Under the new Development Cooperation Charter, JICA will focus on 6 areas. As for the climate change, JICA aims to implement all new projects in a manner aligned with the goals of the Paris Agreement. In addition to mitigation measures, JICA will implement adaptation measures and support a whole-of-society transition in developing countries. JICA has developed the thematic cooperation strategy, JICA Global Agenda, on climate change. Under the strategy, JICA is supporting development of planning on climate change, inventories of annual GHG emissions and sinks, report on progress on national reduction target, as well as incorporate countermeasures against climate change into all development projects.
Hello everyone, I'm Katsura Miyazaki, Executive Senior Vice President and Chief Sustainability Officer of JICA. At JICA, we are committed to realizing a sustainable world with quality growth guided by the principle of human security, where all people can live in freedom and dignity, free from fear and want. To mainstream sustainability management as one of our key organization strategies, JICA announced its sustainability policy in 2023. Climate change is an urgent challenge that transcends countries and generations. Taking immediate and sustained action is our responsibility for our future. Despite the growing uncertainty and instability in today's global landscape, JICA continues to prioritize climate action. Through technical and financial cooperation in developing countries, we support both mitigation measures to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and adaptation measures to build resilient societies. JICA is committed to working hand in hand with various partners to address this global issue. Let us take action together for a sustainable future where no one is left behind.
From here, let us introduce some examples of our climate change mitigation and adaptation projects. Under the Paris Agreement, the parties are required to formulate and submit various plans such as inventories of greenhouse gas emissions, strategies, and action plans for mitigation and adaptation measures. However, many of the developing parties have limited capacity, both financially and technically, to implement these commitments. Therefore, JICA is supporting capacity development of government officials in these countries through dispatch of Japanese experts as well as counterpart training in Japan. In the Republic of Peru, advanced satellite remote sensing technologies are employed to track transformation within the Peruvian Amazon rainforests. The insights derived from these observations are instrumental in enhancing sustainable natural resource management initiatives in local communities, thereby supporting the effective implementation of climate change policies. JICA also promotes the mainstreaming of climate change measures across various sectors, such as transportation and disaster risk reduction, implementing both mitigation and adaptation measures in its efforts to address development issues. As an example, JICA supported the construction of mass rapid transport system in Delhi, India. It promoted modal shift from automobiles to metros, alleviating traffic, reducing air pollution and greenhouse gas emissions, thereby contributing to the economic revitalization and environmental improvement. Another example is the Pasig-Marikina River Channel Improvement Project in metropolitan Manila, the Philippines. The project mitigated flood damage caused by channel overflow of Pasig-Marikina River by implementing river channel improvement and formulating hazard maps. This project contributed to strengthen the resilience towards climate-related disaster, the stabilization of the livelihood and sustained functions of the critical infrastructures. JICA has developed a JICA Climate Finance Impact Tool for mitigation and adaptation to estimate the amount of greenhouse gas emission reductions, assess climate risks, and consider adaptation measures, thereby promoting the mainstreaming of climate change measures into our projects. The tool provides guidance and ensures that climate actions are incorporated during project design process. In addition, project must be conducted in accordance with the guidelines for environmental and social considerations. Projects that are expected to generate more than certain amount of greenhouse gas are required to estimate and disclose the total amount of greenhouse gas emissions before the project implementation. JICA also promotes the use of external funds to combat climate change. The issuance of JICA bonds to support sustainability and disaster recovery projects, and fosters comprehensive partnership with local municipalities and private companies. In April 2025, an amendment of JICA Act was enacted to strengthen private capital mobilization. In addition to the current product of loan and equity investment, bond subscription and guarantee are added as JICA's new financial products. Many countries across the world are actively working to address the issue of climate change. Under the vision of leading the world with trust, JICA will continue to support climate-resilient and carbon-neutral societies for the sustainable development of developing countries in cooperation with various partners.